Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiv Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Dhyere Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So, continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 11, The Perfect Society, 4 Social Classes, text 25 onwards. So, Narad Muni is speaking to Yudhishthira Maharaj, explaining to him the Varnashram system and what are the duties, the different duties and the qualities of people in different Varnas right now. Ashram will come later. Now, this is a common or frequently asked question. What is the Varna of ladies? So he had described Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, but what about the ladies? So he's speaking about the ladies now. Narad Muni is talking about ladies. Strinam cha pati devanam tachru shrushanukulata tad bandhushva anuvrittischa nityam tadvrit dharanam. To render service to the husband, to be always favorably disposed toward the husband, to be equally well disposed toward the husband's relatives and friends, and to follow the vows of the husband. These are the 4 principles to be followed by women described as chaste. This is scripture saying it. So obviously it doesn't recommend that there should be no husband, which is a trend these days. We don't want to get married. Of course, both boys also don't want to get married, girls also, because of so many problems. Problems either they have seen, they have experienced, or they have heard of. So marriage is a problem, so let's not get married and let's have other kind of relationship. So that is not at all prescribed. So Prabhupada says in the purport, it is very important for peaceful householder life that a woman follow the vow of her husband. Any disagreement with the husband's vow will disrupt family life. In this regard, Chanakya Pandit gives a very valuable instruction. Dampatyo kalau nasti tatra shri swayam agata. When there are no fights between husband and wife, the goddess of fortune automatically comes to the home. No wonder I'm a poor man. A woman's education should be conducted along the lines indicated in this verse. But unfortunately, everything that we study these days and everybody who's in any sort of leadership, they always recommend things opposite to this. Women liberation, women empowerment, and this and that. Of course, these are very controversial topics because men have also been responsible for that women liberation movement for two reasons that I can think of. One is they also wanted to enjoy women in a way that we all know how they want to enjoy. And secondly, exploitation of women, being a physically weaker sex, men tend to exploit them. So that is why, the whole society is, actually it's all messed up as per the scriptures are concerned. The basic principle for a chaste woman is to be always favorably disposed toward her husband. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Strishu dushtashu varchanaya jayate varnasankara. If the women are polluted, there will be varnasankar population. In modern terms, the varnasankar are the hippies who do not follow any regulative injunctions. Well, that was in 70s. Nowadays, it's everywhere. They don't even call them hippies. It's everywhere. It's a norm these days. Another explanation is that when the population is Varnasankar, no one can know who is on what platform. Means whether he's a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. The Varnashram system scientifically divides society into 4 Varnas and 4 ashrams. But in Varna Sankar society, there are no such distinctions, and no one can know who is who. In such a society, no one can distinguish between a Brahman, a Kshatriya, Vaishya, and a Shudra. For peace and happiness in the material world, the Varnashram institution must be introduced. The symptoms of one's activities must be defined, and one must be educated accordingly. Then spiritual advancement will automatically be possible. But it is currently it is so difficult to establish Varnashram system. Because first of all, the leaders have to understand and be convinced, and then the opposition won't be there to be ready to do so. They will try to find so many problems with the system, because overall the issue is we just want votes and we just want power. Who cares for the society? Everywhere, all over the world, it's the same philosophy. Wherever democracy is, and wherever it is not, then the leaders are not going to give up the power. So they don't care what is happening. But as Prabhupada said, for peace and happiness, it's not the caste system. Let's not confuse it, because it has been ingrained in our psyche that caste system. No, it's not the caste system. It's a Varnashram system. Even in the house of so-called Shudra, if a son is born who has Brahminical qualities, he should be considered a Brahman, not a Shudra. So that way, caste system has actually brought in so much of negativity about the Varnashram system that people don't even want to talk about it. And nobody wants to make any changes or drastic changes. Okay, scriptures say Shudras are not supposed to study the scriptures or touch the deities. Not because they are untouchables, but because this became like that. It's just they won't understand, and if they won't understand, they will misinterpret and misuse the system. That is the whole idea. And it doesn't say in the house of a Shudra, a Brahman cannot be born. If a boy has those qualities, then he should be considered a Brahman. It's simple as that. But would the Brahmins want to give up their so-called status in the society of being a Brahman? No. Would the Vaishyas want to give up in the society the power of money because they have the money, power? And no. They should be considered as Vaishyas, whether they have the qualities or not. And the Kshatriyas, they want to rule? Who cares? What are the qualities mentioned in the scriptures? And similarly, the Shudras. They say we've been We've been suppressed for such a long time. So we just want to take over. And then the ladies, because they were suppressed and exploited, so now so many things going on in the society. But is the society peaceful? Is everybody happy with the current system? No. Everybody is blaming others for their unhappiness, for their distress, for their miseries. And everybody is blaming the government. Well, government is not coming from Vaikuntha. They are from the people from the same country. So how can we blame the government? So it's just a messed up system right now. सम्मार्जनोपले पाभ्याम गृहमंडन वर्तने स्वयं च मंडिता नित्यं परिमृष्ट परिच्छदा कामैर उच्चा वचः साध्वी प्रश्रयेण दमेन च वाक्यः सत्यः प्रियः प्रेम्णा काले काले भजेत पतिम्. A chaste woman must dress nicely and decorate herself with golden ornaments for the pleasure of her husband, not for pleasure of the other ladies in her circle or whatever. No, or not to show off either, but just for the pleasure of her husband. Always wearing clean and attractive garments, she should sweep and clean the household with water and other liquids so that the entire house is always pure and clean. She should collect the household paraphernalia and keep the house always aromatic with incense and flowers, and must be ready to execute the desires of her husband. Being modest and truthful, controlling her senses and speaking in sweet words, a chaste woman should engage in the service of her husband with love according to time and circumstances. Wow, this really sounds like something that must be happening in some other planet, not on Earth. But we can see that at least our parents' time, I mean, of course, the grandparents definitely, but parents' time also, they were doing this. Mothers were doing all this. संतुष्टा लोलुपा दक्ष धर्मज्ञा प्रिय सत्यवान अप्रमत्ता शुचि स्निग्धा patim tvapatitam bhajet. A chaste woman should not be greedy but satisfied in all circumstances. She must be very expert in handling household affairs and should be fully conversant with religious principles. She should speak pleasingly and truthfully and should be very careful and always clean and pure. Thus, a chaste woman should engage with affection in the service of a husband who's not fallen. According to the injunctions of Yajnavalkya, an authority on religious principles, Ashuddhe sampratikshyo hi mahapatak dushita. One is considered contaminated by the reactions of great sinful activities when one has not been purified according to the methods of Dashvidha Sanskar. So 10 Sanskar, 10 Sanskar is there, beginning with Garbhadan and ending with the Daha Sanskar. So one gets purified. In Bhagavad Gita, however, the Lord says, Namam dushkritya no moda. Those miscreants who do not surrender unto me are the lowest of mankind. The word Naradha means non-devotee. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said, Yei bhaje se bada adakihina, abhaktahina. Anyone who is a devotee is sinless. One who is not a devotee, however, is the most fallen and condemned. It is recommended, therefore, that a chaste wife not associate with the fallen husband. A fallen husband is one who is addicted to the four principles of sinful activity, namely illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. Specifically, if one is not a soul surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is understood to be contaminated. Thus, a chaste woman is advised not to agree to serve such a husband. It is not that a chaste woman should be like a slave while her husband is Narada, the lowest of men. Although the duties of a woman are different from those of a man, a chaste woman is not meant to serve a fallen husband. If her husband is fallen, it is recommended that she give up his association. Giving up the association of her husband does not mean, however, that a woman should marry again and thus indulge in prostitution. If a chaste woman unfortunately marries a husband who's fallen, she should live separately from him. Similarly, a husband can separate himself from a woman who's not chaste according to the description of the Shastra. The conclusion is that a husband should be pure Vaishnava and that a woman should be a chaste wife with all the symptoms described in this regard. Then both of them will be happy and make spiritual progress in Krishna consciousness. It's very heavy, because first of all, to find a person who is not engaged in any of those four sinful activities, it's very difficult. And then on top of it, a wife who's so considerate and chaste and following all the recommendations, very difficult. But at the same time, there have been instances in the scriptures mentioned that even though the husband was not following, but the wife, because she was chaste, either she changed her husband's heart, or she even fought with demigods on behalf of her husband. Like there was now I'm forgetting the names, but there was this wife who was very chaste, and her husband, he was paralyzed, or he didn't have legs, he could not walk, so she was carrying him in a basket. And the husband asked his wife to take him to a prostitute's place. And the wife, she was like, we cannot, they were so poor because she was begging, and she could not afford the money that was asked by the prostitute. So she worked at the prostitute's house for a few days, and then the prostitute was pleased with her, and then she offered to give her money. She said, no, don't give me money, just satisfy my husband. And the prostitute was surprised. What kind of woman is this? She was so chaste. And the prostitute said, okay, yeah, bring your husband. So the woman, she brought her husband and left her husband at prostitute's house. And the prostitute asked him, okay, would you like to eat something first? He said, okay, yeah. So prostitute brought some food items, one something in golden plate and something in just iron plate. And she asked him to eat. And she asked him, is there any difference in the taste? So the husband ate and he said, no, there is no difference. So she said, exactly. What is the difference between my body and your wife's body? Just because I'm dressed nicely and to attract men doesn't mean it's any different. And she's so chaste. Why you're doing all these things? And then the husband understood his mistake. And also another story, maybe it is related, maybe it's a different one. there was this rishi walking by, and this woman with her husband in the basket, and she was either after this incident of prostitute um, meeting, and then the sage was walking by, and the sage happened to touch this man, and he was going for something important, yagya or something. And then he looked at and he said, "Who are you?" And the chaste woman, because she was truthful, and she told him the whole story. And the sage got so upset with the husband that, "What kind of man you are?" And he cursed him that with the tomorrow sunrise, you will die. And the lady, when she heard that curse, she said, "If I am chaste, the sun will not rise tomorrow, so that my husband doesn't die." And it so happened, the chariot of the sun god, it stopped. Of course, in Ramayana, the story goes further, but this is a power of chaste women. They're very, very powerful, and that is why in Mahabharata, all these ladies, Gandhari, Kunti, Draupadi, they were so chaste, and they were, I mean, physically they were not powerful, but by their words, they were so powerful, so powerful. Gandhari was so chaste, and then she had blindfolded herself for the whole life, and when she opened her eyes just to look at Duryodhana, her son's body became like a vajra. Even Bhima, with his full force of 10,000 elephants, could not harm Duryodhana, except the thigh part where Krishna played all the tricks. But even Bhima could not hurt him. And Draupadi was so chaste because just to protect her chastity, Krishna himself incarnated as an infinite sari, and then because she was insulted by Duryodhana and party, everybody. That was the climax of Mahabharata when she was being disrobed. And because of that, everybody died. Everybody. That is power of chastity. So although her husbands, they were also great, pure devotees, but that time they were gambling. But she was chaste. She was completely chaste. Also in Prabhupada time, Prabhupada's sister herself, Pishima, we all call her Pishima, that she was married to a Bengali person, and then Bengal, fish eating is very popular, and he was not a devotee, he was not a Vaishnava, and he used to like to eat fish. Pishima never ate anything non-veg, but her father and then later Prabhupada also told her, "You just serve your husband whatever he wants. You don't eat, but if he wants you to cook for him fish, you cook." And then it is said towards the last days of his life, he changed. But she served him like that. So the point here is not to find faults with either wife or husband that you're not doing this, so I'm not going to do this. Point is to grow together, to help each other, and to grow together spiritually. That's the whole idea. We all are fallen. Who's not fallen? We all are. We all have our shortcomings. But if we keep on pointing to that, especially in a relationship of husband and wife, where they should be helping each other, but if they keep on pointing at some shortcomings, then that relationship is very, very troublesome, very um, bitter, and then nobody makes progress. या पतिम हरिभावेन भजेत श्रीरेव तत्परा हरे आत्मना हरेर्लोके patya shrirev modate. The woman who engages in the service of her husband, following strictly in the footsteps of the goddess of fortune, surely returns home back to Godhead with her devotee husband and lives very happily in the Vaikuntha planets. The faithfulness of the goddess of fortune is the ideal for a chaste woman. The Brahma Samhita says, Lakshmi Sahasra Shabda Sambrahma Sevyamana. In the Vaikuntha planets, Lord Vishnu is worshipped by many, many thousands of goddesses of fortune. And in Golok Vrindavan, Lord Krishna is worshipped by many thousands of gopis, all of whom are goddesses of fortune. A woman should serve her husband as faithfully as the goddess of fortune. A man should be an ideal servant of the Lord, and a woman should be an ideal wife like the goddess of fortune. Then both husband and wife will be so faithful and strong that by acting together, they will return home back to Godhead without a doubt. In this regard, Srila Madhvacharya gives his opinion. A woman should think of her husband as a supreme Lord. Similarly, a disciple should think of the spiritual master as a supreme personality of Godhead. A Shudra should think of a Brahman as a supreme personality of Godhead. And a servant should think of his master as a supreme personality of Godhead. In this way, all of them will automatically become devotees of the Lord. In other words, by thinking this way, all of them will become Krishna conscious. But we try to find faults with and then we just carry on or continue with the life here in the material world. So the mood of service can change anybody's heart. But that mood has to be there. Text 30. Vritti sankar jati nam tattat kula krita bhavet achora nam papa nam antya jante vasai nam. Among the mixed classes known as sankar, not shankar, sankar, those who are not thieves are known as antevashai or chandals, dog eaters, and they also have their hereditary customs. The four principal divisions of society, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, have been defined. And now there is a description of the Antyaj, or the mixed classes. Among the mixed classes, there are two divisions, Pratilomaj and Anulomaj. If a woman of a high caste, not a caste, now again, Varna, not caste. If caste just has negative implications, but Prabhupada wrote caste, so we'll go with that. But we should know, it doesn't mean to modern day caste, it just means Varna. If a woman of a high caste marries a man of a lower caste, their union is called Pratiloma. If a woman of a low caste, however, marries a man of a higher caste, their union is called Anuloma. The members of such dynasties have their traditional duties as barbers, washermen, and so on. Among the Antyaj, those who are still somewhat pure in that they do not steal and are not addicted to meat eating, drinking, illicit sex, and gambling are called Antevasai. Among people of the lower classes, intermarriage and the drinking of wine are allowed. For these people do not recognize such conduct as sinful among themselves. So So, yes, so drinking and eating meat, it is all allowed, but not for upper, higher classes, for the lower classes. But these days, everything is hodgepodge. Everything is hodgepodge. There's not a real system set up. Everywhere there are mixed classes. So that is why everybody likes to drink, eat meat, and it's just prevalent everywhere. Praya स्वभाव विहितो नृणाम धर्मो युगे युगे वेद दृक्भि स्मृतो राजन प्रेत्य चेह च शर्म कृत. My dear king, Brahmins, well conversant in Vedic knowledge, have given their verdict that in every age yuga, the conduct of different sections of people, according to their material modes of nature, is auspicious, both in this life and after death. In Bhagavad Gita, it is a Shreyan Sudharma Viguna Paradharmat Swanashtita. It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though they may be faulty, than another's duties. The Antyaj, the men of the lower classes, are accustomed to stealing, drinking, and illicit sex, but that is not considered sinful for them. Why? For example, if a tiger kills a man, this is not sinful. But if a man kills another man, this is considered sinful, and the killer is hanged. What is a daily affair among the animals is a sinful act in human society. Thus, according to the symptoms of higher and lower sections of society, there are different varieties of occupational duties. According to experts in Vedic knowledge, these duties are prescribed in terms of the age concerned. So these duties are prescribed in terms of the, whether it is Kali Yuga or Satya Yuga, Dwapar or Treta Yuga, it is described accordingly. And if somebody follows, then he is not sinful. Okay. And why it is okay for them to steal, drink, and illicit sex or meat eating? Vritya swabhava kritya, vartamana swakarma krit, hitva swabhavajam karma, shanar nirguna tamya. If one acts in his profession according to his position in the modes of nature and gradually gives up these activities, he attains the Nishkam stage. So the idea is to let them be engaged and gradually they give up these activities. It cannot happen overnight. It's not going to happen. If one gradually gives up his hereditary customs and duties and tries to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his natural position, he is gradually able to become free from these activities and he attains the stage of Nishkam, freedom from material desires. So that is the whole idea among Vedic, in the Vedic scriptures. Let's not disturb them. Let them gradually go further up. Upyamanam muhukshetram swayam nirviryatam ya na kalpate punah sutya uptam bijam nanashyati evam kamashayam chittam kamanamati sevaya virajyete yatha rajan agnivat kam binduhi. My dear king, if an agricultural field is cultivated again and again, the power of its production decreases. And whatever seeds are sown, they are lost. Just as drops of ghee on a fire never extinguish the fire, but a flood of ghee will. Similarly, overindulgence in lusty desires mitigates such desires entirely. If one continuously sprinkles drops of ghee on a fire, the fire will not be extinguished. But if one suddenly puts a lump of ghee on a fire, the fire may possibly be extinguished entirely. Similarly, those who are too sinful and have thus been born in the lower classes are allowed to enjoy sinful activities fully. For thus, there is a chance that these activities will become detestful to them and they will get the opportunity to be purified. Of course, this philosophy is taken up by some rishis like Charvak Muni, who says, eat, drink, or beg, borrow, or steal, eat ghee or drink ghee. Why? Because then your body will be strong and you can engage in or indulge in these different sinful activities. But the point is that the idea is the overindulgence in lusty desires mitigates such desires entirely, because a person, how long you can enjoy? The same senses, and like Prahlad Maharaj said, what is this sexual activity and the sense gratification, sexual? It's just rubbing the two pieces of skin together. That's all it is. And also, I think Osho had this similar philosophy. But the point is, every philosophy actually comes. The source is Krishna. Nothing can come without that source. But people then slowly they mess up and they think this philosophy is right, that philosophy. But ultimately, the idea is desire has to go away. Bhagavad Gita says, by giving the higher taste, lower taste goes away, which is the right way actually. But even if by giving the higher taste and getting in the process of getting rid of the lower taste, the desires are still there, the inclination is still there. And that's what Arjun also asked, why somebody tries to do sinful activity even if he knows it is wrong. Kamesha, Krodesha, Rajoguna Samadava. That's what Krishna says. It all arises because of this mode of passion. And it's not that it will go away so soon, so fast. Because again, the desires are there in the Kuta stage, in the Bijam stage, Aprarabdha, and then the Prarabdha. There's so many desires there. So the point is, in Vaishnava tradition, we don't even get into this overindulgence in lusty desire. This is for people who are lower, in the lower stages. This Antejas, that's Bhagavatam speaks. So to gradually let them make progress, it is okay. But for those who have already taken up devotion service, already have made progress, this is not for them. This is definitely not for them. But as I said, everything comes from Krishna. He is the source of everything, even this philosophy. And now, final verse of this chapter, which is very, very important verse, which is Narad Muni saying, Yasya yallakshanam proktam punso varnabhivyanjakam yadanyatrapi drishyeta tat teneva viniradishet. If one shows the symptoms of being a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, as described above, even if he has appeared in a different class, he should be accepted according to those symptoms of classification. So this is where the Varnashram system comes in, that the so-called caste system doesn't make sense. This is what Narad Muni is saying. Herein it is clearly stated by Narad Muni that one should not be accepted as a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra according to birth. For although this is going on now, it is not accepted by the Shastras. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvarnyam ya Srishta. Thus, the four divisions of society, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, are to be ascertained according to the qualities and activities. If one was born in a Brahman family and has acquired the Brahminical qualifications, he is to be accepted as a Brahman. Otherwise, he should be considered a Brahmabandhu. Similarly, if a Shudra acquires the qualities of a Brahman, although he was born in a Shudra family, he is not a Shudra. Because he has developed the qualities of a Brahman, he should be accepted as a Brahman. The Krishna consciousness movement is meant to develop these Brahminical qualities. Regardless of the community in which one was born, if one develops the qualities of a Brahman, he should be accepted as a Brahman. And he then may be offered the order of sannyas. And it is okay, it is possible. Unless one is qualified in terms of the Brahminical symptoms, one cannot take sannyas. In designating a person a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, birth is not the essential symptom. This understanding is very important. Herein Narad Muni distinctly says that one may be accepted according to the caste of his birth, if he has a corresponding qualifications, but otherwise he should not. One who has attained the qualifications of a Brahman, regardless of where he was born, should be accepted as a Brahman. Similarly, if one has developed the qualities of a Shudra or a Chandal, regardless of where he was born, he should be accepted in terms of those symptoms. So anybody can be born anywhere. Yes, prior to Kali Yuga, generally, it was a general system that the qualities of the father or mother, it just gets transferred to the children. So generally, it was the Kshatriya will be born in a Kshatriya family. But in Kali Yuga, everything is hodgepodge. So one has to know the qualities of a person before judging whether he's a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. And in any family, like Ravan. Now, same parents, Ravan, Kumbhakarna, they were Shubhnaka, they were Rakshas, Pravritti, but Vibhishan was a devotee, although born from the same parents. So birth is important, but it's not the ultimate guiding point. But nowadays, everything goes by birth. It's on your certificate, birth certificate, the last name is written, and that's it. That's it. You're done. And that's a very primitive way of finding out if somebody is a Brahman or Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. So there ends the 11th chapter of 7th canto, Perfect Society, 4 social classes. So we'll stop here, and tomorrow we'll take up the Perfect Society, 4 spiritual classes. So ashram, 4 ashrams. So see anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanad Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dhanad Pranam.
So, Prabhuji, now that we are trying to understand these all varnas and ashramas, but still in this Kali Yuga, everything is, as you mentioned, house-balls. So, what should be our take on points by reading or understanding all these? I mean, what is the essence, or how to understand, or how to implement them in our life, actually?
Our implementation is basically chant Hare Krishna and try to develop the qualities in the mode of goodness. At least goodness, if not beyond. That's all.
Also, the caste system is very dominant here in Indian society. So by reading the Prabhupada purport, so it is also teaching us not to discriminate based on our um, birth titles and all.
Yeah, because these are all what is Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra? These are all bodily designations, right? Soul has nothing to do with it.
Yes, but the fact is, even in a very aristocratic family, also those who are highly qualified or they have a scriptural knowledge, but they also discriminate in terms of all this. We can still see them very clearly. So
Highly qualified in terms of what? I
I mean,
didn't understand.
still discriminations are going on based on the titles and everything in terms of marriage and all in the societies widely, and it's very open. I mean, in spite of knowing
Oh
everything.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because it's so difficult to give up the traditions or change the traditions. And only in India, maybe the like Pakistan, Bangladesh, which are part of India, these things go on. Nowhere else. America, nobody cares.
Yes. So that's what, like in a society, if someone is born in a Shudra family or a Brahmana family, but afterwards, as it's mentioned here, that based on their qualifications or natures, one can justify that one is falling under which category. But who decided? I mean, the society decided for that soul, or that soul themselves realized that, okay, I'm falling into this Brahminical qualities, so I should upgrade myself to this. So, like, because society we cannot depend at all, because society themselves do not have this much of understanding. So, who actually decide for them?
Well, it's simple. If somebody is born in a like a Brahman family, somebody's last name is Sharma or Dubey or Trivedi or Dvivedi, Chaturvedi, then these are considered as Brahmins. So now for their alliance also they'll try to look for girl or boy from the same part of the society. But this is also changing now. Some boys or girls are rebellious. but I know a family from Haryana, and the from a Rajput family. They were devoted. They took initiation, husband and wife. But when it came to marrying their girls, they said it has to be from the Rajput family. I said, why are you so worried? He said, Prabhuji, theoretically, I understand what you're saying, but practically, it's not possible because then what will happen from our village will be all kicked out, basically. Nobody will even talk to us in the village.
Exactly.
And then yeah, and then what? Then where do we go?
Yes, because even sometimes it is very difficult to take such a bold step because we stay in a society. So with no choice, even understanding everything, we have to abide by the rules of society. I mean, we have to go by the society's rules and regulations.
Yeah. And that is why we hear of these words as honor killing, although there is no such thing as honor killing, but this is what these people do.
Yes.
Yeah. So it'll take long time to change.
So all we can do is like, as we are fortunate enough to get the association of pure devotees and spiritual masters. So we at least can transform our life uh, by understanding the real meaning of varna and ashramas, and then we should not supposed to at least discriminate, or in our future generation we should not keep that tradition.
Yeah. Or, I mean, or the wrong part of the tradition. There's many traditions that are good. I'm not saying all the traditions are bad, but some things which are not good, don't need to follow that.
Yes, Prabhuji, tough, but with the constant association, at least there is a hope, and then strength is like possible to get that strength to deal with the situation. Else, everywhere it's very strongly, I mean, ingrained in everyone's mind and life. And then if I also talk, because mostly I used to come across with all these things, because here in our society also there's so much of discriminations and all. So if I alone talk, then they feel like I'm coming from somewhere else. I mean, as if I am a totally defaulter for them.
Yep, yep. We are the black sheep of the family.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Madhav. Thank you. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.